appendix almost burst in the middle of nowhere, the middle of the desert, 150 miles at a hospital away from my mom at 10 years old. Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a story time about the time that my appendix almost burst when I was shooting a movie, and therefore production had to be postponed, and I was in the middle of nowhere. I was in the Arizona desert. There were not hospitals around for 3 hours. It was very, very dangerous. Before we get into this video, please subscribe to my channel. That would really help so much. And also, here's my Instagram and here's my username for any channel updates that you might want to see, and comments in case they are disabled on here. Also, please like this video if you have had your appendix removed before, and comment down below your experience if you have had your appendix removed or if you know anyone that has had their appendix removed. Anyway, let's get started. So the actual symptoms of the appendix started a couple days before October 19th. That was the date that I got my appendix removed, early morning. Anyway, we'll get into that. My appetite was bad. I'm a very avid eater, and so if my appetite's bad, you know something's wrong. My mom always uses my appetite to judge if I'm sick or not. So I was coming home, I was filming a movie, and it's actually out right now, but again, for safety confidentiality reasons, I'm not allowed to share what I was in. So basically, what happened was I was having these digestive problems, I wasn't hungry, I was just having the basic digestive problems. They're kind of gross, so I'm not going to go into them too much. Let's get into the night it actually happened. I was going home from one of my scenes that I had to shoot. It was late at night. I was finishing a late night scene. It was probably around 8 by the time I got home. I don't know why I just said it was late, but whatever. We were staying in Phoenix, I think, somewhere near Phoenix, and so we were staying at a hotel. We had a really big room because we were shooting a movie there for 6 weeks, so we had to have a big room, and my aunt was there, and so was my little brother. My mom made me a grilled cheese for dinner, and she gave it to me, and I only ate a little of it because I just wasn't feeling really well, and she thought something was wrong immediately because she's like, why isn't she eating? So then I went to the bathroom, and I had digestive problems, and I just was not feeling well. I was feeling so sick, and I was really pissed because I wanted to watch TV. I wanted to do well on set the next day. I kept also feeling nauseous on set, and that was really bugging me because I really wanted to act well, and it was really interfering my symptoms with me performing well on set. Again, I was only 10 years old. I was terrified that something was wrong. So I went to my mom and I told her I was having these weird stomach problems, and I was having a lot of stomach cramps. And they were not in the lower right where they're supposed to be, but they were pretty close. So my mom told me to lie down on the bed and she would feel my stomach. Her dad is a doctor, so she kind of knew what to feel for. And she felt around, and I said it hurt kind of everywhere, but this is the weird part. I guess she calls it mother's intuition because she wanted my aunt to take me to the hospital. My aunt lives with us. She's not really my aunt. My mom and her have just been best friends forever. My parents are actually divorced. Anyway, she always comes everywhere. She's like my second mother. She took me to the hospital even though she was exhausted and she was complaining, but my mom had it sense that something was wrong with me, and if it weren't for her, my appendix would have probably burst, and I would have probably, I don't know, even died, because because you can literally die if your appendix bursts from a horrible infection or something. Anyway, Barb, my aunt, took me to the nearest urgent care, which was in Winslow, Arizona, which is an hour away. Okay, so if you guys live in a big city, it's like a 45 or hour-minute drive with traffic. In Arizona, you go for an hour-long drive, but there's no traffic. It's literally the longest stretches of just plain highway and desert in the middle of nowhere. It's so scary to have a medical problem there because you can't get to the hospital fast enough. It took an hour. We were both exhausted. My aunt went into a McDonald's drive-thru to get a coffee. Anyway, eventually we made it to the urgent care in Winslow. Then we went into an exam room, and the doctor came in and felt around, and he took a blood test. Here's a picture of all the IVs I had stuck in me, and since I was only 10 years old, I was absolutely terrified. I was absolutely in so much pain, first from my stomach and then from the stupid IV. It was not fun to have all those IV needles poked into me a million times. But they took my blood, really hurt, and they said that my white count was elevated. If you guys don't know, an elevated white count means that there's some sort of infection or your body's trying to fight something. So it was a clear indication that I probably or maybe had appendicitis, but I could also have something like a fever or something. So they said, we don't think it's anything serious. You can go home and go to sleep and see how the stomach pain progresses. Thank God I did not do that, because later on I'll tell you, but the doctors later on at the next hospital said it would have burst. Then Barb called my mom and she told my mom what was happening, and she said that if they wanted me checked out more, they couldn't do that here. We would have to drive another 2.5, almost 3 hours to Flagstaff. It's ridiculous. Another huge long drive. And it was probably like 11 p.m. or like midnight or something, and I had to film the next day in case I wasn't getting my appendix removed, which actually happened, duh. But it was not fun to have to be in that much pain and then also worrying. And then eventually my mom forced Barb to take me to the Flagstaff's hospital because she just knew something was wrong. If my white count was elevated, my white count's obviously never elevated, I never feel that way. So they gave us an option to either drive to Flagstaff ourselves, or they would get me an ambulance to drive into. Now, I was 10 years old, I really wanted to ride in an ambulance. I thought it was cool, all the sirens, but it didn't work that way. Barb just drove me the 2.5 hours it took to get to Flagstaff's hospital, and I was feeling really groggy and tired. I was only 10, my usual bedtime was like 9 or like 8:30. I never went to bed at like 11 or midnight. Then we parked in Flagstaff's parking lot for the hospital, and I got out of the car and I could not walk. The stomach pain for some reason just got so bad so quickly. I was doubled over. I couldn't walk without holding onto my aunt's arm. It really, really hurt to even do that, and that's when we both kind of looked at each other and we knew, yeah, you probably have appendicitis. So once I got checked into a little sectioned off room in the emergency room in the Flagstaff's hospital, they ordered an ultrasound for me. There was a lot of waiting time. I probably didn't get the ultrasound until like 1 in the morning. I was kind of sleepy. They wouldn't let me drink any water or eat any food, even though I was so thirsty, because in case they had to do surgery, they give you anesthesia and a breathing tube. They can't give you any food or drink for like 24 hours before. They did the ultrasound, and I remember lying down on the ultrasound table, and the doctor putting the ultrasound wand scan thing over my appendix, and I don't remember what it looked like, but I have a very vivid memory of him looking at my aunt who was in the room and going, like, he knew that it was appendicitis, it was gonna have to be removed, but it wasn't confirmed until I was wheeled back to my room. We had to wait another 30 minutes to get the actual results, because sometimes the technicians are wrong and the doctor has to read the actual ultrasound scan. But the doctor told me that I had appendicitis and it needed to come out like really soon, and it was going to burst if we didn't do anything soon. And I was freaking out. I had to film a movie. We were only halfway done with the movie, so I was like, I can't have surgery right now. And my aunt was also freaking out, but we had to call the producers anyway. I'll explain all that after. Basically, they told me that the 2 times they could do surgery is like in a couple hours, because the surgeons are going to be available at 5 to 6 a.m. for surgery, or I would have to wait, if I didn't choose that option, until the next night at around 6 to 7 p.m. And so I wanted to do the next night because my mom wasn't there, and I was only 10 years old, and my aunt is so sweet, and I love her so much, and I said she's like my second mom, but I needed my mom. I was only 10. I needed my mom to have surgery. I was terrified. I started crying, but my mom called me and she said, if you don't get it out soon, like this morning, it's probably going to burst. Do you really want that? Then you'll have to stay a lot longer. The recovery will be harder. So eventually I did agree to the early morning because it was the best option. My mom later said she didn't sleep a wink the whole night. Like, everyone was just so terrified because it was my first surgery, like general anesthesia experience. She had to talk to the anesthesiologist on the phone. It was such a mess. But eventually they let me sleep for a couple hours while the surgeons prepared for surgery, and I couldn't really sleep. I was a little tired, but it was like the first all-nighter I pulled. It was around 4 to 6 I slept, and my aunt was right there, and I kept getting thirsty, and she gave me some ice chips because that's really all you're allowed to have liquid-wise. So then they wheeled me into the OR and the operating room, and my jaw was shaking. You know when you're scared, like your jaw shakes? I was on the gurney and they were wheeling me on, and my aunt was right next to me, and she can't actually go into the OR, so I was saying, I love you, bye, and she was saying, okay, good luck. And I was just so terrified. I didn't know if it was gonna hurt. I didn't know if I'd wake up. I just didn't understand like how it worked. I was only 10. It was my first general anesthesia experience. They put me on the operating table, and by the way, the OR is like a bright white room, bright lights, like charts and clocks everywhere, and it's very cold for some reason. They put an oxygen mask on me because they had to, and it smelled disgusting, like burnt, like spoiled rubber, and it was so gross, and I was like gagging, and so they took it off, and I remember this so clearly. This nurse had lip gloss, and she told me, pick one flavor and I'll like rub it. It's their scented lip glosses, so I could choose blueberry, strawberry, like to make it smell better, like put it inside the mask. I chose strawberry. They put it on, it smelled a lot better. Then I do remember very clearly them putting the needle in, and it felt like a stinging liquid fluid through my veins. And they said, okay, now things are going to get blurry. Can you please count down from 10 for me? And I was only 10. I didn't know that I was really supposed to count down from 10, even though they told me. So everything got blurry. Like there were like 2 of the doctors standing above me, and I felt like I was like falling down a big black hole. And I remember trying to ask, why is everything blurry? But I couldn't. Then the next thing I know, I'm in the recovery room. General anesthesia is so weird. It's crazy, and it's kind of a cool experience, but I was way too scared to enjoy it. Anyway, my aunt was with me, and I had a really sore throat for like 5 days because they stick a breathing tube down and it inflames and irritates your throat. That was really annoying, but it's to make sure you're breathing, so I understand why they do it. My mom came to visit that day, and everything was fine. She told me about production because I was supposed to be on set the next morning after my surgery, and obviously, first of all, I was like 4 hours away from set. I was going to have to recover. They said no like physical activity, and a lot of that shoot was physical. I was supposed to like play this really active kid. I was late in the movie. Basically, I could not walk upright for 2 weeks without my stitches hurting, and I will insert a picture right now of me in the hospital. It was not fun. I had to stay overnight the first night, and I couldn't sleep. Hospital beds are so uncomfortable. Here's a picture of the bandage and what it looked like. It was so sore, and it hurt so bad. And here's another picture of my hospital room. Basically, they postponed production for 2 weeks and only filmed scenes that I wasn't in, like the other characters were in, but it was so hard to work around it because I was the lead in the movie. And it was easy though once I bounced right back. Once I could walk upright, I was totally fine. My stitches never pulled. And now I am missing my appendix, and it doesn't feel any differently. It totally screwed up the movie shoot though, and we were supposed to leave end of October, but we ended up leaving kind of midway, kind of beginning into November. It was an absolutely crazy, crazy, crazy experience, and if I had to wrap it up in 4 words, the 4 words would probably be very scary, very horrible, very crazy, but also very memorable, not for good reasons though. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, please subscribe, and here's my Insta for channel updates, and here's my username. Also, please like and comment if you've had your appendix removed before, and share your experience down in the comments. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I love you guys. Bye!